Hey everyone, my name is William McKinnon and this is my Teach It Back video week 2. I'm going to go over some of the main ideas from Module 2, which was all about making a great impression during interviews, learning how to prepare for them effectively. So honestly, before going through this module, I kind of thought interviews were mostly just about showing up, answering questions, hoping the interviewer likes you, but this module really explained how the interviews are actually something you can prepare for strategically instead of just improvising everything in the moment. One of the biggest ideas from the module was that interviews are not something that just happen to you. Instead, you should actively manage the interview and make it easy for the interviewer to understand why you are a strong candidate. The first major topic the module covered was rapport building. Rapport is basically creating a genuine connection with the interviewer. The module explained that a lot of students walk into interviews without even researching the company, which companies apparently notice immediately. So instead, we're supposed to research both the company and the interviewer beforehand. The module introduced something called rapport matrices, which are basically organized worksheets that help you figure out what information to look for. For example, you can look at a company's website to learn about their mission statement, awards, services, or values. Then for the interviewer, you can check LinkedIn to see their education, work background, hobbies, or speaking events they're attended. The point of this is not to sound fake or scripted, but to create a natural conversation starter. So instead of an awkward small talk, you might say something like, I saw your company recently won an innovation award. What do you think helped you guys separate yourself from the other companies / competitors? Or if the interviewer went to the same school as you, you can bring that up naturally too. I think this part was very interesting because it makes interviews feel more like conversations instead of interrogations. The next major topic was deconstructing job descriptions. This was probably the part that stood out to me the most because I never really thought deeply about job descriptions before. Usually I would just read them quickly and think, do you qualify or not? But the module explained that job descriptions are basically wish lists. Companies know they probably won't find someone who checks every single box. So instead of focusing on everything, the goal is to identify the 3 to 5 most important skills or responsibilities mentioned in the posting and see if you match up with them. Then you can prepare examples of you doing those that connects you to those requirements. The important thing is that your experience does not have to match perfectly. For example, if a company wants 3 years of sales experience and you don't have that, you can still talk about internships, class projects, leadership positions, or customer service jobs that show similar skills. The module also explained that interviewers cannot magically know your value unless you clearly explain it to them. So your job is basically helping them connect the dots between your experience and what they need. After that, the module introduced the STAR method, which is probably the biggest concept from the entire lesson. STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. This method helps structure answers to behavior interview questions, which are questions like tell me about a time you solved a problem or describe a challenge you faced. The situation is where you explain the context briefly. The task is what responsibility or challenge you had. The action is what you specifically did. And the result is what happened because of your actions. The module emphasizes the actions and results section are especially important because employees want to see you actually took initiative and created a measurable outcome. For example, instead of saying I worked hard during my internship, you would explain exactly what you did, then mention something measurable like increasing sales, improving efficiency, or receiving recognition. One thing I liked about this section is that it makes your answer sound more organized and professional instead of rambling on, giving vague responses. The module also talked about a lot about difficult interview questions, which honestly are the questions most people hate getting asked. Some examples were, what is your biggest weakness? Tell me about a time you failed. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? The professor explains that these questions are predictable, which means there's really no excuse to be unprepared for them. One thing that the module suggested was using example answers online or even AI as a starting point, but then editing the response so they actually sound natural and fit your personality. The goal is not to sound robotic or memorized. The module also introduces the idea of talk track, which means you do not necessarily memorize every word, but you know the important points and stories you want to hit during the interview. Another thing I thought was useful was the idea of managing the interview itself. The professor explained that if the interviewer never asks about one of your strongest experiences, you should still find a way to bring it up naturally before the interview ends. For example, near the end, you could say something like, "Before we finish, I wanted to mention one experience that I think connects really well to this position." That way you make sure you don't leave your best material off the table. Overall, I think the biggest takeaway from this module is that interview success mostly comes from preparation. The people who stand out usually not the smartest, most experienced candidates. A lot of times it's just those who were prepared the best and communicated their experiences clearly and confident. The module honestly made interviews feel a lot less random and gave me much more organized system for preparing. I think the STAR method, rapport building, and job description deconstruction are all things I could realistically use for an internship or future job. So yeah, that's my overview of Module 2 and main concepts I took away from it. Thank you for listening.